Thanks everyone for joining the event. Just for the clarity, we are recording the event, and we will obviously share then the session with you later on. So yeah, this is the first one in a series of 7 we are hosting. We're going to tackle in each session different topics, and this one is merely about, let's say, giving a state of where we are with the co-living industry in general, and also how it's blending well with fintech and blockchain technology, which we are developing within the Portio ecosystem. So when we are moving to the next slide, yeah, briefly the agenda. So as I said, there will be an opportunity for some answers, Q&A at the end of the session. But as I said, we're gonna cover the key trends in the industry, and obviously also give some update on what our takeaways were from last week's MIPIM, and then obviously we're gonna touch further into the tokenization side of things. Next one. So yeah, Portio, just very briefly, Portio was incubated end of last year with the help of Coliving Ventures, of which Bart, who is in the call, is one of the co-founders and the managing director. So basically, Coliving Ventures helped Portio to get launched mainly during the Co-living conference in Amsterdam last year, which is going to be repeated also this year again in September. And earlier this year, in the second half of February, early March, we were also granted access to the accelerator program of Startup Bootcamp, which started just recently. And as such, we are now in a journey with them for the next 3 months to bring the products to the next stage and bring us really to MVP level. Next slide. So yeah, my name is Pascal, and I'm the founder of Portio, and together with me is Bart, who is the co-founder of Coliving Ventures, and obviously also an investor and a board member within Portio. So Bart, I'm going to give you the stage to discuss, let's say, the status of co-living, where we are, and obviously also share your takeaways from last week's MIPIM.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for introduction, Pascal, and thank you very much for hosting this event, Andrea. My name is Bart Sassim, and I'm gonna, since I'm already in co-living and short living for 12 years, I'm gonna try to give you a little bit of highlight to what is happening and where co-living is going. So first of all, we should start with why, and the why is for us, yeah, definitely what is happening on the market, which is the gap. We are in a quite deep housing crisis, and basically this is driving all of us to think like, what can we do to solve it? And we're going to be talking here about co-living as one of the solutions, and one of these big drivers behind also changes in the industry is a changing demand. So the rise, the rise of single households, and also the change in, let's say, social structure. So moving away from let's say atomic family model, or at least postponements, let's say family setup drives the demand for the new models to emerge. And since there is worldwide spread and loneliness epidemic, there is more need for community and also for coexistence, and that's where the community and flex living with its flexible offer actually bring answer to the question of how we can solve it. Let's go to the next slide. And since every period in the market and let's say economy is defined by the newcomers, and these newcomers are Gen Zs. we need to focus on them and what's going to be happening in the next couple of years and decades. And Gen Zs actually do face probably the biggest impact of the housing crisis from 2008 up to now, not really solved well. And they're facing basically problem to find affordable housing that fits their dynamic lifestyle, need for traveling, for mobility, and also for possibility to participate in the real estate market, as well as then for further liquidity in that. So in Europe, we speak from European perspective currently. In Europe, we've got 20 million of late millennials and Gen Zs coming, and unfortunately, because of the also economic situation, as well as rising prices of real estate, they're not able to basically invest, climb their property ladder, and that essentially evolves into an opportunity for us real estate players to provide a new type of product, rental product, and basically that's also then combined with what the problems, hurdles are of those of this new generation and late millennials, like, let's say, including myself, is basically is a lack of connection with peers, with other people within the society. So the promise that technology was supposed to get us closer was definitely not fulfilled in 100%, and that essentially results in a further let's say exploration of what can happen next. But what needs to be also said, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit further on MIPIM updates, is that Gen Zs and millennials are a different type of customers. We let's say, we're demanding more of economic, environmental, social, and governance in let's say planning of both on a city level, neighborhood level, and also on the, let's say, building level. And this is essentially starting to put pressure also on the old school real estate players who for many years have been maintaining the status quo to change the way they provide products. Let's go to the next. So we have chosen like one market to actually to show what is the current evolution, let's say, of the co-living when it comes to numbers. I saw that Daniel is calling us from London, so he probably understands the situation. Similar to what happened to PBSA, London is actually one of the biggest PBSA student housing, right? London is one of the biggest, let's say, driving forces when it comes to supply, and it's and the UK overall is probably one of the most mature markets, which actually shows how much we are behind in Europe on various aspects when it comes to developing units, also embracing new technologies, new ways of building, and also operating real estate. And there is quite interesting insights from Savio's report that it is projected that 51% of European investors plan to invest into co-living sector over the next 3 years. So we are ahead of let's say, the pickup line. And there's going to be 2.6 billion. I heard bigger numbers, 3 billion of capital being moved towards co-living investments during this period. Let's go to the next. So then we've got key trends and the future outlook for co-living. We will be seeing bigger movements and transactions in co-living. over the next couple of years. So it is projected that in the next couple of years, the yearly investment volumes will increase to average per year 2 billion. And there is a nice growth rate, which is recognized by various industry players. And that's going to be like, I think, pretty big driver that will be shaping, let's say, the landscape of specialist real estate, following, let's say, the success of PBSA. And we already have in Europe and across the globe a lot of professional operators. There is 150 plus, and definitely when it comes to the investment and asset under management in Coliving by 2025, we're going to be seeing like a major pickup. But let me make it a little bit more interesting to for you with sharing some updates from MIPIM. So let's go to the next. I have categorized those into 3 different silos: macro situation, so the market situation. Since we are in housing crisis, there is definitely more confidence in residential assets and also hotel, let's say, assets. And we're going to be seeing a lot more investments and transactions also because the market is getting more professional. And there is high interest of private equity investors to benefit of that, let's say, early entry. And that's what I've been hearing on MIPIM, that there is more and more private equity being pumped into Coliving's brick and mortar as well as opcos, and this mixed with some of the, let's say, structural or like institutional public programs that are being currently kickstarted will provide further supply. But there is also demand side of it, which is actually meeting supply. So we're gonna see definitely a better match for supply and demand disbalance. And last but not least, when it comes to this macro situation, is that there is increased appetite. So there is more and more investors, professional, and also I've been hearing a lot of institutional investors waiting for more transactions to be happening to allow for further consolidation within the market. But what is interesting here is that there is finally a shake, and there is understanding that the old school real estate needs to embrace the changes, and that they need to basically take up on this shift in demand in specialist real estate products. So those are gaining popularity. And the biggest groups that we see driving the demand are young professionals and digital nomads, but there are obviously other groups. So the total addressable market is so wider. On last Coliving conference, we've been presenting also other type of segments that are quite promising, such as senior Coliving, and that's something that is also well understood due to the increasing healthcare costs, and will to essentially solve this issue that we currently have, which is increasing cost of healthcare, and where Coliving can actually help. And there is definitely common understanding overall across the board from let's say different sectors, and this understanding essentially concludes that the business as usual, as I mentioned earlier, is not going to be possible. At least it's not going to yield as well. And these new models such as Coliving and PBSL, purpose-built short living, will be definitely on the spotlight. So when it comes to investing, or let's say more like starting to look for different opportunities for Coliving and PBSL, the time is actually now to find those suitable investment opportunities or development opportunities for the early adopters, to essentially get the most out of early entry. But the last, what is very important, and that's something that is obviously repeated everywhere. When I went to MIPIM, there has been like 10,000 ESG consultants, everybody preaching ESG. We all know, how important ESG for our Mother Earth, but also for our social fabric. And when it comes to the environmental aspects, so sustainability, there is going to be, well, on European level, I can say that there is going to be massive shift when it comes to allowance for further capital raise when it comes to actually designing and developing environmentally friendly products. Those projects will be prioritized, or let's say will gain an unfair or fair advantage over old school investments, and together with residents that are essentially driving force behind sedimenting the demand, this will attract definitely and pull more investors into the market. But I think we all here who joined this or any other events, we're all socially aware we're aware of the social, let's say, issues, challenges that we're facing. The loneliness epidemic is touching us all across different age groups, demographics, countries, and humans are social species, so we need each other, and this is being recognized by the let's say status quo investors, that let's say the hands-off approach to investment will be let's say changed, or shaped, by this new operational slash living capital moves, and because of what is happening on the market when it comes to also the purchasing power and possibility to purchase your first home, which is not that easy these days, and that's going to essentially consolidate further drive into this sector. So what I've been hearing is that fortunately, meaning people who work in residential hospitality, hybrid hospitality, will be seeing more investment coming into this sector, various segments, because Coliving is essentially one of Coliving slash PBSL next to student housing and PBSA, very mature already asset class, thanks to the adaptability of this ESG aspects, will be getting into a good business opportunities. And talking about ESG, can we go please to the next, Andrea? Talking about ESG, obviously there are like challenges and solutions in this Coliving investment. When it comes to the challenges, energy, so high energy use here, in we speak from a European perspective, and waste, as well as other type of issues, and let's say issues on the level of also cost of living will be driving more and more focus into environmentally let's say focused solutions, and the eco-friendly practices, and also let's say social mix with social aspects will be essentially getting the upside of the market Swift. And when it comes to the social, which I already tapped on quickly, we've got isolation across the globe with the technology that I previously tapped into quickly. And this drives further need for social interactions, and so the social cohesion. And the solution here is as simple as, you know, hardware, meaning like bricks and mortar, that allows people to meet, to gather, to share values, to share moments, and take the most out of their life in those urban environments. And last but not least, we've got the aspects of the governance, and I shortly mentioned about earlier, but what we can see is that the E and S are such a big drivers in a shift of both demand and supply, that we already see new regulations, new guidelines. For example, the one coming from London recently published on how to develop the PBSL scheme. So we're going to see definitely more transparency in how to develop co-living and PBSL schemes, and I think thanks to this clarity and transparency, we will definitely fast forward the further growth into co-living. Pascal, would you like to take it over?
Yes, thanks, Bart, for the insights and the takeaways on from MIPIM. I think it was very valuable. I think we were, thanks to your presence, able to capture what was thriving there, what was going on the exhibition for a couple of days, and obviously we are, let's say, pretty much motivated with what we have heard, what we have seen, and to which extent we can somehow translate it to our offering with Portio. When we're talking about tokenization, because that's, let's say, one of the key fundamentals of the whole Portio ecosystem, is we are using blockchain. Without wanting to really go into the nitty-gritty details technologically, what we basically do when we are tokenizing real estate is that basically you convert real estate, a real brick and mortar asset, into a digital token, and you store them in a decentralized way on a network of databases or ledgers. And at the end of the day, they are secured using different ways of cryptography. What does that mean? It means that by doing this digitalization, it offers some possibilities in terms of increasing liquidity towards the asset, because basically you can start trading the asset, and it also allows to split larger assets into smaller fractions, portions, and that's basically where the name Portio comes from. That's what we do. We fractionalize real estate into smaller portions, smaller parts of a bigger building or bigger asset into smaller pieces, and by doing this, we make, let's say, the entry barrier for people to enter into co-investing and co-owning much lower. And that is, at the end of the day, one of the big value offerings of tokenization in general, and obviously pretty much applicable for real estate. When we go to the next slide, it is really a movement going on. Tokenization of real world assets has, let's say, since the second half of last year, really gained traction, gained momentum. We see it now in different types of asset classes, not only real estate, but there are also financial products being tokenized. We have commodities being tokenized, basically also other physical products like cars, luxury products, art. So there is a whole movement in real world tokenization going on. And at the end of the day, they're all based on this three key drivers, which are, let's say, offered by blockchain and tokenization. One being liquidity, what already mentioned. The second one, lowering the entry barrier for new parties to enter the ecosystem. And obviously, because it's all public domain, there is a enhanced transparency in the whole system. And as it's peer-to-peer, you don't have too much involvement of middlemen anymore. Yeah. So as such, the industry is poised to grow, and that's recognized by different parties, amongst them Boston Consultant. There are other reports out there saying, confirming the same numbers. So yeah, we are confident that we are in a growing movement, and we are pretty much confident as well that we can also apply these possibilities towards co-living. When we are moving to the checking the next one, what is really happening in the tokenization world, and let's say the real world asset tokenization. Two things. People start to use tokenized assets as collateral to get loans or to borrow money. And that's a movement which is, thanks to some platforms, Aave is one of them, is really also growing momentum. So you start to see a complete parallel system of bringing, let's say, lenders and borrowers together, using collateralized real-world assets, using blockchain technology, using DeFi protocols. So that's one thing which is really gaining momentum. And there is one relatively mature player already in the US applying this for real estate as well. And the second thing is that what you also see is that people start to tokenize real estate and somehow stake it in liquidity pools. Liquidity pools are just like big liquidity banks, if you want, where people can, where you basically can stake you can put your tokenized assets in, and you get a return, you get a yield for doing that. Yeah. It's let's say a Web3 version of banking, and that's also gaining substantially momentum. On the screen, you see some figures of Ocean Point, which is the liquidity pool from Block Square, one of the, let's say, earlier parties in the industry in Europe. And as you can see, the numbers are growing, and they are already staking over roughly 70 million USD. And that's really growing now quite exponentially. So that's also a second trend, which is, I would say, really becoming apparent the last months or quarters. Next slide. Yeah, how we do tokenization when we are translating it towards co-living is that basically what we do is we always have a third party operating the project. So we don't focus on operations. We are focusing on financing, marketing the opportunities, finding and scouting opportunities, but we are not involved in running operations. And what we are doing is we basically split the project into smaller parts, make it possible for people to just step into the opportunity for as low as 100 USD or 100 euro, whatever that may be. And as we are using this blockchain tech offering, then obviously also liquidity to the investment they did. Next one is tackling the advantages, let's say the offerings for both tenants, investors, and operators. When we're focusing on tenants and investors, there are three things which are really, I would say, that can be highlighted. First of all, obviously, you get access to a new type of real estate, which is broadly recognized to have above market yields. As we are offering this way of alternative financing to operators, it's also obviously allows them to expand their business. So we are also, by doing this, we are also increasing we are helping to support the market. We are growing the market together with the operators, and then obviously also increasing the capacity of co-living projects and co-living beds as a whole. Second thing is that as we are able to fractionalize, to split the properties into smaller parts, at the end of the day, everyone can access. As mentioned, we can really offer the opportunity from as low as 100 euro. So we are offering this opportunity to a large number of people who are till today not able to join with real estate investing. And I think that's also pretty powerful. And that's definitely made possible by using tokenized technology. The last thing is that we are focusing mainly, but not only, but mainly on late millennials and Gen Zs. And Gen Zs, for sure, they are a little bit of the swipe generation, where a lot of things have to go very quick. It means that also for a large majority of them, the horizon on which they look into it in terms of from a investment point of view is typically shorter than I would say all the generations doing this. And typically, as a lot of people still think that a token is just the same like crypto, which is not, because we are talking here about asset-backed tokens. You also have this this notion of tradability and of flexibility in terms of how you deal with your portfolio, which is obviously also possible with the approach we have. When we talk about the advantages for operators, which is on the next page, next slide, there are three of them which are really important to mention, and I think they really have equal importance. First of all, I think what we also learned last week during MIPIM is there is still difficulty for parties to a certain extent access capital at this moment, let's say in a traditional way, because of still the relatively high interest rates. And what we are doing is basically offering an alternative way of financing. So we are an equity type of financing, allowing operators to scale their business and bring in a community of tenants and people that believe in their project as their backers, which then typically also gives already a very powerful second advantage. It allows for the operator to enter into a new way of dealing with tenants, with customers. Because basically these people become no longer just a tenant, they also become a co-owner of property, of your project. And that creates a lot of possibilities marketing-wise for operators, and will at the end of the day really increase the retention of these people throughout their journey. Typically people that are using a certain project or a certain property in a certain city in Europe, operated by an operator, if these people are also part of the network of co-owners and co-investors into that property, most likely they will also jump into, they will stick with the same operator when they are moving from one city to the other. So it creates ways of tying your people to your business in a very novel way, and I think that's also pretty powerful for operators. And the third thing, and that's I think everyone somehow recognizes this, as soon as you can have your people your tenants becoming co-owners, it creates a complete different way of how people deal with your property. Yeah. I think people start to be more respectful with what they are using, what they are sharing, which obviously is also then increasing the operational performance of the project itself. So I think those three things from an operator point of view are really powerful, and are enabled by the by, let's say, the tokenization approach we are launching. Next slide. As said in the beginning, some of you maybe just missed the early beginning, but this webinar is part of a series of, in total, 7 of them, which we're gonna tackle different topics about co-living. And the idea is to do this on a monthly basis. So we will start announcing the date for the next one relatively soon, which should be held during the second half of April. And next one, yeah, we really hope that we give some insights, some highlights of how we see co-living evolving, and how we see our offering, let's say, blending, tying in well with this. We are now really happy to answer questions. Maybe Andrea, you can give some guidance on how we can do the Q&A.
Yes, thank you everyone for listening. I would like you, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat, and then we will take one by one to answer to them. So if you want to find more information, you can go on Portio Capital, and you can reach out Pascal via LinkedIn on this name or on his email address, and you can chat with Bart as well on LinkedIn or email here. Let's see, there are some questions popping in.
The first one is, what is the management fee for the services? Pascal, would you like to handle that? Give a little bit of average, because this is quite, let's say, widespread question depending on the country, but I'm sure that we can answer that.
It really depends on the country and the type of operator we work with. So just to make it very clear, we are working with different operators. We are from that angle, we are agnostic. We are not tied with any specific operator. We just look at good opportunities, good projects, and obviously we also look at the quality of the operator themselves. And depending on the project, the management fees and the way the management is organized will be different, either through a master lease or through a management agreement. It depends on how the operator wants to interact with us. So it's difficult for honestly spoken to give their overall numbers, and not because I'm afraid to do so, but giving numbers is in this relatively fragmented industry it's a little bit dangerous. Maybe Bart, you have some additional insight on this, but I think
I mean, we would be working actually on 2 levels, right? So we've got currently different discussions with different type of operators at different sizes, that essentially drives us, to different streets. One is like giving a master lease that some operators would be interested in, so essentially tenancy. On the other side, that would be the management agreement, and that differs, once again, from country to country, but I at this moment, maybe I would not like to disclose this, because that's our upside. I don't know if Pascal, you would like to share it, but
no, I follow your
that's some operators
question.
here.
Yeah.
I'm also in Barcelona right now, and I'm talking to even more, let's say, more potential partners to answer Michael's questions. We've got the rule of 5 opportunities sitting, on the main desk. So right now we've got 5 advanced conversations with potential buy-in, essentially co-investing. Just to give you a high-level overview, we are interested in buying in the beginning in between 25 to 50% of rolling EBITDA, right? Scheme. So we at this moment we act as co-investors, and that obviously requires alignment with the rest of people who are either sitting on a club deal table, or we are currently also looking into first properties that we would be actually co-investing in, that will be built within let's say 1 year. So the answer to this is like 5 very, very strong leads, that we can actually offer today. We can present these opportunities. But currently in the pipeline, I don't know, what was the last number, Pascal?
The total pipeline is obviously larger than this 5.
18, right?
Yes.
Something like this.
But to be honest, let's like you mentioned, we are very diligent on how we deal with these projects. It's all about quality. And I think the ones you mentioned, let's say the 5 you have referred to, are things we have already, let's say, checked more in advance. And but we get requests in at this moment almost on a daily basis. But for us, it's also important to be very sure on the quality of the projects, and that's why we are, let's say, also spreading our attention to the first initial 5 ones.
Yeah. And maybe to add to that Pascal, maybe to clarify, we are not operators and we're also not developers. So we're looking for turnkey solutions with, let's say, 1 year go-to-market strategy, right? So that's essentially what keeps us a little bit intact. There is a lot of interest in selling buildings to us, but not all of these buildings actually meeting our criteria, and that's where we need actually both ends, operators, who are comfortable with operating specific sizes of schemes. On the other side, we've got developers that want to develop specific type of schemes. So it's a matchmaking situation. Pascal, the next question I would like to address to you, because you've been really deep diving into MiCA aspects. There is a question from Kekira. Can you explain us your strategy regarding the actual MiCA aspects you use to create legal tokenization in Europe?
So very, very relevant question. We expect MiCA to come into practice by the end of the year. It has already been voted, but there is still some path to get it into action, and that is expected by the end of 2024. According, let's say, MiCA, the tokens will be classified as digital securities, because they are basically representing financial gain, financial reward. So they will classify under this class of digital assets, which means that thanks to MiCA, there will be more unified role and harmonized legal structures within Europe, and how you can operate with them throughout the EU, which is a big step forward, because still now a lot of this was pretty fragmented. So this will offer us more opportunities for doing cross-border promotion and cross-border transactions. Because till now this was more difficult, because a lot of some countries had their own rules, which were very different than other ones. So this is getting now harmonized. So for us, we will obviously comply under MiCA. We will work under the MiCA regulation, and we see it as an advantage, as a step forward, instead of a hurdle. And I think at the end of the day, having this MiCA in place will also increase the trust that people can have and should have into tokenized assets. It's I think a lot of the gray zone will disappear, and obviously there have been a lot of negative let's say market feelings and trends with NFTs, which were then also somehow partly financial products and all these type of things. The last 2 years, a lot of things happened. So I think at that also from that angle, Mika is coming at the right moment in place. And for us, it's a tool, or it's, let's say, something we can leverage on, which we will obviously also do. And at the end of the day, the last thing we want to have is to run into any legal uncertainties. So everything we do will be and shall be checked against legal MiCA compliance.
The next question is from Daniel. Will tokens have any voting rights attached to them? Daniel, when we're gonna be in minority, we're gonna push for that, because this is our mission and vision to actually democratize. So in case, like the residents would like to invest or buy out existing investor, that's what we're gonna definitely push for. But in the current situation, I can tell you, we're having discussions with different type of, let's say, co-investors. Not all of them want to actually grant those voting rights. And I think as we increase our investment volumes, and our strategy is going for the next 1 to 2 years, unless we really achieve great investment volumes in these years, will be 25-50% equity investment, also to basically to prove the concept. That's number one, and define different scenarios for us to co-invest. So from our side, that's something that we're putting on the table. And when there is somebody interested in either selling to us and keeping a specific amount of shares, let's say stake in the company, they already know that this is our value proposition. And we believe that with, let's say, adoption of this type of alternative investment, we will be having more influence on this aspect. So that's where we are driving, Daniel. But as you know, you're a very experienced person. It's not always that easy to sit on club deal table and enforce those when you actually need this money to make the investment happen. Are we having any other questions?
No, we don't have any questions left, but we have 10 minutes left. Here we have from Prince.
Yes. When you say the token will be classified as digital asset, do you mean the token will be a security token? If so,
Yes.
it covers only utility tokens, isn't it? Which means it is not AMF that will cover the security token. Can you just can you clarify us? Yeah.
As I mentioned before, it will be classified as a security token and will be handled and, let's say, must be compliant in that classification. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's representing a share of a legal entity. So it is clearly a security token.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe to clarify a little bit on that topic, just to anticipate potentially another question, how we do this. At the end of the day, what we do is we put the legal entity, we put the asset, we are tokenizing into a separate legal entity. It's called an SPV, a special purpose vehicle. And at the end of the day, what we are doing is we are tokenizing that legal entity. So we are we are tokenizing the legal entity into smaller parts. It's a way of tokenizing the real estate which is in that legal entity. So that's why also these tokens represent a certain shareholdership into that legal entity, and as such they are obviously a security.
Yeah. That's essentially SPV structure that is being tokenized. Maybe we can also open, if you agree, Pascal and Andrea, we could open the floor for anybody that would like to actually unmute themselves and share any insights or observations from the market.
Sure.
Since we still have a bit of time, I think that would make it a little bit more interactive so that we don't feel alone in speaking.
So every participant can unmute themselves if they want to speak.
Can you briefly explain again the relationship between Coliving Ventures and Portio Capital? Absolutely. So Coliving Ventures is a separate entity. We, for full transparency, firstly, there was Pascal at Coliving Ventures, believing in the mission of building a B2B industry platform and a venture builder out of Coliving Ventures with all of our brands included. Then there was a drill down to Portio solution. We at Coliving Ventures, we are working with different stakeholders, from investors, asset managers, developers, operators, suppliers, you name it. And we've been interested in understanding how can we actually help to stimulate business and help to stimulate the market. And we believe that the solution that Portio offers, Pascal, as a CEO and founder, is the right solution for the market. And we have decided to incubate Portio within our structure. So we own minority share like a typically in incubator, and thanks to successful, let's say, incubation, we were also able to get into accelerated program. So there is a actually really interesting observation that I can see, that Coliving is not only maybe not well, but better understood within the real estate world, but Coliving is starting to be well understood by also other sectors, and especially when it comes to definancing, so DeFi and fintech. That's where we believe Coliving is still missing some components, some solutions, and that's why we are bringing together Portio to the market. That this is our role. Our role is to support as Coliving as a venture developer, healthy, sustainable, economically viable startups that has got something to offer to the wider audience. And in that case, our mission is always to include everybody in our discussions. So on last Coliving conference, we had investors and we had residents, and we will do it again this year. And that means that we are also working on allowing Gen Zs, millennials, to participate in real estate and to essentially climb the property ladder, despite, let's say, lack of, let's say, lack of entry to in form of, let's say, deposit or possibilities to get financing in a form of mortgage. So that's our broader mission, and that's where Portio fits 100%. Anybody?
Hello. Hello. This is Kerkira. Hi,
Hey.
nice to meet you. I think we met with Lars Willensen in the Vivel opportunity, and nice to meet you in real. My name is Michael, and I'm living in Greece, in Corfu Island, and this is what we want to do, is dedicated to create co-living or an opportunity of real estate in this island, because we can compare Corfu to Bali, and we saw a lot of trends trend of new Gen Z, millennials, digital nomad trend in Bali in this kind of situation. So congrats, because this ecosystem is so new and we start to grow. What do you recommend as an operator? So we want to find some investment and we want to find some solutions like Portio to create opportunities of investment. What do you recommend to us to start with the, let's say, with the local national Greek situation, as we are in Greece? So we have legal aspects for Greece, but we have legal aspects of MiCA also in Europe. What is the begin we can start by?
Pascal, can I take it? I guess that's a little bit my piece of cake. So, Kikira, thank you very much for this question. I think, like for any other operator and an investor relationship, let's say investor or landlord, whatever you call it, co-investor. What is the most important is obviously to fill in the property, have a strong value proposition, and healthy. It depends, what type of model you're operating in. But I suppose if it's Corfu, that's probably more of a kind of a hybrid hospitality spin. Probably, then the last KPI would be ADR. That can essentially convince not only us but also other co-investors to invest into a specific property and understand how you operate it. But currently, what we are looking at, and I think many other investors are looking at, is to find established operators or property managers, that are essentially functioning as operators, white label, is to essentially have an understanding into operations. So that's where we need to look into the legacy and the history of your performance, understanding who is your client, and we will be diversifying. This is our strategy. So definitely we would love to look into what Corfu has got to offer, since some of our current 17 opportunities that we have, a majority is actually let's say digital nomad / young professionals demographics. But there are also senior opportunities. We've got 3 of them. So I think unique proposition, definitely, because that's what will make you either stay or go quickly. And I think this market is so dynamic that if you do not have soul in your operations, you will not be able to run for long. And we are rather looking for value add investments.
Okay,
All
let's
right.
continue in LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Our times is almost up. 1 hour is up. So thank you everyone for joining this live webinar. Follow up, we are going to keep in touch with you via email. You're going to have access to this recording to rewatch it, also the transcript of it. Anything to add, Pascal, Bart?
No, thank you for everyone for joining. This is the first one we did in the series, as I mentioned. And from my side, I'm really happy to see the number of people showing up. I also saw some familiar faces, which is also good to see. Obviously, luckily enough, also some new faces. And let's keep the conversation going, and let's hopefully meet again within 1 month for the new episode. Thank you.
Remember to save the dates, guys, for Coliving conference. We're gonna have more interesting topics in Coliving and emerging short living. So colivingconference.com. That's your website.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.